Hello everyone, it's Andrew Knight here from RICS. I work within our Standards Regulatory and Public Affairs Directorate, and I head up the RICS Tech Partner Programme. And I'm very pleased to bring you another one of our episodes with our tech partners. And in this case, I'm talking to Louis Daillencourt from Novoville. So over to you, Louis. Please tell us a little bit about Novoville, and then we'll start discussing the kind of problems and solutions you're bringing to the marketplace for us.
Hi there, Andrew. Sure. So I'm Louis. I'm the program manager for Novoville Shared Repairs, and I've been working for Novoville, which is a UK business with the headquarters in London and in Athens, Greece, for about 2 years and a half now. What we're talking about today, Novoville Shared Repairs, is a new venture of Novoville's, something that we've been building for the last year and a half in collaboration with the City of Edinburgh Council. And it's to do with contributing to making Edinburgh beautiful, to preserving the sort of unique heritage we have in the city. So yeah, I'm very excited to talk about that today.
Great, thanks, Louis. Well, you preface this particular beginning section with the phrase "the old problem, the old solution." So tell me about the buildings and why they're special and what this problem is.
Sure. I mean, the old problem, I suppose, is a well-known problem. It's the problem of looking after your building, specifically in the context of buildings in co-ownership. It raises a particularly difficult kind of collective action problem when you've got sometimes up to 16 owners who need to come to a decision on maintaining or repairing their building. Edinburgh is one of the most beautiful cities in the UK. The buildings are superb. I'm not a building expert myself, but I very much remember the first time I arrived in Edinburgh, turned around outside the Waverley station, and just saw this amazing view. Be it the color of the stones, I don't know, the particular type of architecture from that time. Yeah, it's it makes Edinburgh what it is, I think. Look, they're very tough buildings. A lot of the ones that we're talking about today and are working on with Novoville Shared Repairs, they've been standing for over 100 years. They've withstood many a Scottish storm. But as with any building, they've got a few points of failure, be that the roof, the gutters, and yeah, it's extremely important to look after these buildings and to maintain them well, to prevent very costly repairs in the long term.
No, understood. And how historically has that been done, given those challenges of that particular sort of co-ownership that you have in Edinburgh?
Well, look, I think one of the issues that technology is not going to address, but one of the issues we have is that historically repairs have not been done enough to begin with. So the old solution was that the local authority would step in. The City of Edinburgh Council used to take a very sort of active approach to building repairs, serving notices, effectively compelling owners to do the repairs. The council themselves would do quite a lot. They would often, take the lead themselves. And in fact, I think I'm not sure if 2017, probably the Edinburgh Shared Repair Service was created, currently headed up by Jackie Timmins, whom we've been working with. I believe with a view to helping progress cases of common repairs all throughout the city. But pretty quickly they realized that actually owners wanted to take the onus on themselves to do those repairs. They wanted to have control over the budget, or what contractor to go for. And so their role has changed a little bit, and specifically with regards to privately owned buildings, they've moved on to a bit more of an advisory role. And they're encouraging owners to take the lead themselves. And I suppose this is where the story of Novoville Shared Repairs sort of starts.
Indeed. So you, from what I can see, is that you've obviously developed this shared repaired service. It'd be quite interesting to wind back a bit of the history of Novoville itself and the concept of CivTech, because obviously this whole kind of data and tech world in the built environment and more broadly is bedeviled with jargon of plan tech and prop tech and con tech and CivTech. So I'd be interested to hear a bit of the backstory about Novoville and also how CivTech fits into this landscape, because it's obviously very interesting application into a slightly sort of different area than perhaps we're normally used to talking to.
Of course, and I'll add another piece of jargon into the mix. You know, we see ourselves as a GovTech sort of player. So look, GovTech generally, as it says, is new technologies that are specifically selling to government, be that national, regional, local, at all the different echelons. And that can go from parking sensors down the streets to a new consultation platform. Really, it kind of is a very broad umbrella that the industry uses to identify itself as sort of like new players on the scene, really. Civic tech is a sort of subset of that, and it's to do with citizen engagement. It's trying to provide the right tools so that residents, citizens can engage properly with their local authorities. Very often, civic tech is more local. Not all the time. Sometimes we do, you know, there are big consultation exercises at on a large scale, but I think civic tech is more about people's daily lives and trying to improve people's lives with simple tools, be that applying to things from your local council to parking down the street. And this is, I think, the space that Novoville is in and has been pretty good at over the last few years. You know, one of our biggest clients is the city of Athens, for instance. We've got about 350,000 users in Athens. Novoville is the front door for all local government services there. And you know, we create lots of interesting new features, for instance, to help those councils meet some climate objectives, be that, you know, adopting a local tree so that the amount that you need to water the tree every year comes down because there's less waste upon watering and things like that. Trying to engage people into the neighborhood that they live in, you know, increase their sense of place, really. Anyway, so Novoville has been doing that, and you know, loads of other things. We have a volunteering app, we have a parking application. You know, we create these sorts of custom solutions for local authorities. And we heard about a program that was launched in Scotland already a few years before. I think we came on the 4th cohort, so you know, had been going already. Called CivTech, you know, not to be confused with civic tech, the the general umbrella for citizen engagement technology. So CivTech, their idea was basically to create a new form of procurement for government, and it was to say, okay, let's reach out to national governments, regional governments, say what are your challenges? Could you formulate a specific challenge that you think a technology partner might be able to solve? And they sort of structured this way, this accelerator basically, whereby they would find a partner. There's a competition to find the right partner to team them up with the local authority and the issue. And so we won the challenge for Edinburgh City Council, which was to do with how can we simply improve the property condition of buildings in Edinburgh. And you know, we sat down and we listened to Jackie and her team and started engaging in loads of consultations with traders, you know, with contractors, with surveyors. You know, a lot of information, thankfully, was shared with us in the context of this program. And so we came up with Novoville Shared Repairs, which is effectively a marketplace for repairs and maintenance specifically built for Edinburgh. So that's our story within CivTech. But you know, during our cohort, there were 11 other companies and I believe and local authorities. Digitization of blue badges, improving the seeding of trees. There was loads of stuff going on, and I think it's a very successful program.
So almost before we go and look at this specific piece you've done in Edinburgh, I suppose it's fair to say that this kind of civic tech, gov tech at this kind of level is very much a kind of enabling suite of platforms and solutions for what's often called the sort of smart city, where you're trying to actually improve using technology just the way the city runs at almost quite a micro level in terms of lots of different points where you can improve the experience and as you say, ultimately go back to kind of UN SDGs and the kind of ESG agenda as well. So it sounds like a very positive set of innovative approaches to making cities more sustainable and better run, and I guess from the perspective of the occupants of the city, a much friendlier way of actually interacting with all these somewhat faceless sort of services that we're perhaps used to.
Of course, and you know, it's Smart city often gets thrown around like it's one big concept or product you can apply. I agree with you that it's likely to be lots of individual enterprises or endeavors, really. And as much as you can join them up, fantastic. But smart city is again a bit of a big term. Definitely in what we're doing in Edinburgh, which is to integrate the market, provide an app so that homeowners can access that marketplace, and provide a completely structured journey that takes them all the way through to the resolution of their issue. I think that fits in. And also, if we are thinking a little bit in the future towards like energy efficiency upgrades and things like that, I think that could be a very interesting conduit. And again, I think that fits in quite nicely with that sort of smart city narrative. But
exactly, I suppose it almost makes the smart city perhaps more approachable as a bottom-up approach of just picking lots of small issues, arguably, that one can then improve and end up with the sum of those parts being fairly powerful. Well, that's great.
Sure.
Well, do show us how this app works, because my understanding is it's very much about the kind of, to use the hackneyed phrase, that end user experience, that experience from the kind of consumer's perspective, the people who actually are living within the buildings.
Of course. So look, the way the app works, it allows you to do really three things. The first one is to create what we call a virtual tenement, which is a sort of one-to-one representation of your building, but in the app. What that means is really referencing all the properties that make up the tenement at that address. The second thing, and you can invite other owners to join, you can share the burden with other people, but you don't have to. Really, a single person can use the app. The second thing is to actually procure works, so be that repairs or maintenance. We've integrated traders which are on the Trusted Trader scheme in Edinburgh. So currently, I think there's about 160 in the app. So you can select them, ask them to basically bid for, or rather provide an estimation or a quote for the repair that you've raised in the system. And then you can take a vote on whether or not to appoint a trader or another. And finally, the last thing it allows you to do is to actually create what we call a sort of operating account. It's basically a bank account, but it's not from a bank inside the tenement. So it's a sort of escrow account, bank account, digital account, call it what you like. Of course, it's from a third-party provider that's FCA regulated. It's actually the same provider that provides the accounts for the online bank called Revolut, if any of you are.
All right, okay.
So inside the app, I have access to one of those. It's free to create. I mean, it doesn't cost you anything extra to create. And you can sort of gather funds and pay out to the trader. So basically, these three things together are the whole sort of end-to-end process inside one app. I'll have a quick walk around.
Yeah, thank you.
Looking at the whole home screen here, I've got a tenement in my app. Because this is a demo account, for some reason the tenement is in London, so let's just ignore that. So at the top here, there's a people section. This is me. I can invite other people. In fact, I've got 3 invitations I've sent to Andrew, Joanna, and Lee, and they might join me in my virtual tenement here. I've referenced all 3 properties which are in my block. Actually, it says 6 properties here. So if I want to complete my virtual tenement, I just need to create the next one. I say that I have no relationship to that particular property. I'm creating it for someone else. But of course, if I'm creating my own property, I need to identify myself as the owner, occupier, or landlord. This is what allows me to correctly apportion the costs later when we've got a repair. I've raised a ticket already. I've raised a repair sort of for an issue with my roof. And as you can see here, we've got a section called the process, and this is what structures what I'm going to have to do as an owner occupier, probably a little bit confused and scared with the prospect of having to ask loads of people for money. So we've broken it down into 3 sections. The first section is what are the rules that govern this repair? So first, who's concerned with the repair? It's simple as ticking which flats are supposed to be paying. How much are they going to pay? So that's the apportionment here. Let's assume an equal share, so 20% each. And then what is the majority that's required and the standstill period? I'm just going to use the defaults here.
Yeah.
And here we go. I've inputted the rules. The second big thing is hire a trusted trader. So as I said, we've integrated members of the Edinburgh Trusted Trader scheme. I select the ones that I want to send my repair to, and it goes out to them by email. I'm not going to do that now because these are real people. But to finish up on that section, I'll just show you briefly where I can go and create my my digital tenement account. So it's as simple as just filling up a form basically, and within a couple of hours, digital checks are going to be performed, and the next thing you know, your account is created.
And as I understand it, because you're using modular, you do get effectively an account number, a sort code, so you get the same audit trail and control as if it was a real account, don't you? So
yes, it works exactly in the same way. When the account is open, we advertise with what the well, inside the app, of course, what the account number and sort code is. When there's eventually a decision made on the repair, we will say, well, you need to pay this amount into this bank account with this reference, etc. So all the payments can be tracked. But it's also worth saying that we appreciate that not all people, not everybody who pays uses a smartphone, right? We have lots of people who are not smartphone users. So what the app does is it actually gives you access to, you can download letters that you can print and pop under people's door. So at every step of the way, you've got the appropriate letter so that you can inform analog folks, if you of the steps you're taking. In fact, you have to, by law, you have to do that, and the app provides you with the correct information already.
No, I think it's a general note. I think with technology, we always have to remember that inclusivity, that not everybody either wants to or has access to the latest technology, and we need that kind of parallel analog world for those who need it. That we have to be inclusive in terms of rolling out technology.
We do, and it hasn't necessarily been a particular. It hasn't necessarily been easy in terms of understanding, okay, how can we design a user journey where a single person with the help of an app can do everything right by the law while keeping it inclusive. So, I'm not saying that those letters are the, be all and end all of inclusivity. We can probably go actually much further. But at least right now, we've tried to deal with these hurdles and these obstacles.
Indeed. And how does this work for the kind of for the civic councils? And I know the language is slightly different in Scotland in terms of property managers being called factors quite often. How does this app relate with other stakeholders? Because obviously there's the email links to the traders, there's obviously the people within the virtual tenement. There presumably are interfaces for other stakeholders as well.
Sure, and actually, if you think about it, there's quite a lot of stakeholders involved. Right now, there's this app creates in this marketplace is a link between the homeowner, who at the end of the day is the person that has to foot the bill, right, and the trader, who at the end of the day is the person that has to do the job. But there are property factors, surveyors, the local council, housing associations. Actually, there's loads of people in this ecosystem, and the app is making inroads towards those players. I think if we want to start with property factors, it's quite an interesting case because so in Edinburgh there isn't much of a factoring culture as it happens, which is I think probably why the City of Edinburgh Council ended up going to CivTech and we ended up showing up. But actually when we started engaging property factors, what they saw in the app I think is the tool they've been waiting for themselves. Because look, if we just take a step back, everybody's just trying to progress common repairs here, be it a factor or a homeowner or this app. This app is just a piece of technology, so it's neutral in the way that it can be used. It could be used by a property factor or by a homeowner themselves. In fact, it could be used by the council. So what we're trying to do, and this is why I think it's important to think of this as a marketplace, is to actually integrate all the players in this ecosystem. So the app is just 50%, in fact, probably even less of the whole system, because there's a whole sort of management dashboard that a controlling organization can use. So if you're the council, if you're a factor, you can control the app to a certain extent, and you can use the app to engage. You can use your dashboard to engage app users. So if you're a factor, you can call meetings through the app, you can send polls, you can issue repairs, you can show the work you've done. So you can use it as a complete sort of client engagement solution, basically. The council has a slightly different use case. The City of Edinburgh Council currently are spending a lot of, there's a large pilot going on to regenerate some housing. in parts of the city. So again, this is a case where they're trying to progress common repairs, but because it's the council doing it, it's a different process. But it's a process that could be helped if they had a sort of dedicated system to help them do it. And with the app and the sort of backend that comes with it, we have the beginning of that system. So the last 6 months, we've actually created the Edinburgh portal, if you will, to help them on their journey to progressing these repairs they have in that big pilot.
Thanks. I mean, you mentioned obviously that people can choose from a set of trusted trader. How's that sort of marketplace for the broader industry developing, and how does it sort of work, and how do you see that developing?
Look, I think one place that we're very excited to explore, and I want to say rather continue to explore, is working with surveyors, of course. Initially, they were part of the brief. Initially, we wanted the first version of the app to actually include surveyors because we're very woke to the impact they can have on procuring good works and helping to educate owners about what the issues are that their building is facing. But it introduced a sort of level of complexity that we thought was best dealt with separately. And as a second step, once we had created that link between the homeowner and the trader first. So I've been working with some of your members in Edinburgh, and I'm calling on anybody listening to also get in touch with us, talk with us some more. Because what's possible here is actually to create a more comprehensive digital solution, I would say, for construction project, for the procurement of construction projects. Right now, through the app, you can only speak to the trader, but I don't see why you wouldn't be able to get a condition survey, buy a home report, even just speak to a surveyor as an advisor for half an hour. That could be the difference between the correct repair and the wrong one. So one of the first things we want to do is to open up the marketplace to surveyors, of course. But then I'd like to take it a step further. Once surveyors have done their job, their work, I understand that they report on the building.
Exactly.
There are standards with how should a report look, and once that data has been captured, that could be sent to the traders that we have on the system. So again, I'm sort of thinking about further integrating the whole thing. And I think Edinburgh is actually the perfect place to sort of start on that journey.
Well, as you say, because I think, and I suppose there will be a spectrum of repairs where some will be relatively simple, but others ones where clearly there may well need to be an interim step where a condition survey should be done to really establish the scale of the repairs required and make sure that when you then go to the trades that you're actually specifying the correct job, and you probably have some understanding of the scale of works involved, both in terms of their physical scope and obviously the budget as well.
Of course, I think at the moment, anybody who is facing a significant repair or to the fabric of the building or the roof, should be speaking to a surveyor. And at the moment, the app doesn't allow them to do that. So I'm aware that we're probably sort of restricting our addressable market to if you want to look at it that way. But the surveyors that I've spoken to have expressed a very, very keen interest in having a similar system set up for them, and one after they've produced the report that can be sent off for pricing, for estimation with a trader. So over the next few months, I think that's one of the things I'm going to be focusing on.
Well, that's great. And have you had any interest from other councils in Scotland as well? Is this a similar kind of project that other jurisdictions would be looking at as well?
Yes, actually, we've had a lot. We've had a lot of interests. I mean, we started with Edinburgh because we've collaborated very strongly with them. Indeed. But technically, there's absolutely no reason why this cannot be deployed in any other local authority in Scotland. So East Ayrshire, actually, I think we're one of the first out of the block expressing an interest in setting this up. So they're in process right now, and there are others that we're talking to at the moment as well. I think by the end of the year we might be present in 5 or 6 local authorities in Scotland. But no, I'm very, I'm very happy, I think, with the feedback that we've gotten and the interest we've had from all of these other councils. It doesn't cost the council anything to deploy Novoville shared repairs in their region. but I think it's good for us to get a license to operate, and we also often need to speak with trading standards and people there. So.
Well, I'd have thought yes. I mean, but because of the context of this, and because it's so critical that there's trust from, I suppose, day one, to use the phrase, from the kind of consumer side of this, it would seem pretty important to get that kind of support and positive endorsement from the local authorities, so it's seen as a supportive part, and because this is all about trust, isn't it? It's trusting the platform, it's the virtual tenement trusting each other, and then having trusted traders to do the work. So, it clearly needs to be presented in that environment, doesn't it?
Of course. Look, while it's very important to have the sort of support and endorsement of the council, I also think it's important for the consumer to understand that we are not the council. We're a separate sort of private player. We charge 2% on every repair because we need to make our money as a business. But that the idea for this and some seed funding and some support has come from the council. And I think people should be, probably saying well done to the council for looking for an innovative way of dealing with this issue, and then creating this piece of technology which you don't have to use, but if you do want to use it, well, I think at the end of the day it's actually quite good value for people.
And indeed, as you say, that you've also recognized that there are legal issues surrounding it in terms of the due diligence and the paperwork. So it's important people realize that it's done within a framework of the real world, because so often people can view apps and the world of cyber as being slightly outside of the real world, whereas clearly this is all about real world properties and making sure everybody's properly informed and there's a proper audit trail. So.
No, absolutely. This is about bricks and mortar, so hopefully people will start seeing a little bit more Novoville shed repairs advertising on billboards in the next few weeks, and we'll raise a little bit of awareness about the brand. But no, absolutely. This is a sort of, although you're talking to a French person, this is a Scotland born and bred, and actually an Edinburgh sort of born and bred project. And so we're excited about taking it to the rest of Scotland.
Exactly. Well, it's been great to talk, and I look forward to having another conversation, seeing how things are going in Scotland, but also perhaps reflecting more broadly on that conversation we had about that kind of bottom-up smart city approach, where lots of different kind of apps can make a city and a region perform better for its inhabitants in partnership with the civic bodies themselves. So it's been great to speak, Louis, and I look forward to our next discussion.
Thanks, Andrew. Thanks for your time.